Welcome back to Pilot Unplugged, Ask Me Anything. I'm Jennifer Ford, and I'm so glad you're here. If you're a returning listener, thank you. You keep coming back, and we love that. And if this is your first time joining us, here's a quick version of what the show is. We take real questions submitted by real people working in the field, and we answer them honestly. No fluff, no jargon, for the sake of it, just a real conversation about energy, strategy, and what's actually driving costs in your industry. So today we're taking a deep dive into commercial real estate. And this is a topic that comes up a lot in our world because energy is one of the largest and most variable operating expenses for property owners and managers. Whether you've got a single building or a portfolio of hundreds of properties, what you're paying for energy and how you're managing it can have a real impact on your bottom line, your tenants, and the long-term value of your assets. Before I bring in our guests, a quick word about who we are at Pilot Energy. We're a commercial and industrial energy advisory firm that's been helping businesses navigate energy markets since 2001. We work with property owners, managers, and operators across the country to help them understand what's driving their energy costs and make smarter decisions around procurement, demand strategy, and efficiency. It's not a one size fits all. It's very specific to your market, your properties, and your goals. All right, so I'm really excited about today's guest lineup. First up, Shawn Parker, founder of Parker Realty Associates based in Ohio. Shawn has been in the real estate since 1988. He started buying property right out of Ohio State, built his portfolio while working in consumer packaged goods for companies like Nestle and Eastman Kodak, and transitioned to real estate full-time back in 2000. He's built an impressive operation since then. Parker Realty Associates, New Perspective Asset Management, which is leading the receivership entity for distressed assets in Central Ohio, and Lanacera, a private equity fund with investments across Ohio and Indiana. We're also proud to say Shawn has been a Pilot Energy client for over 8 years, and he manages roughly 500 properties across Ohio. Shawn, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, indeed. Thanks, Jennifer. Really happy to be here. I've been in this business long enough to know that the questions your audience is asking are the right ones. Energy is something a lot of property owners underestimate until it's already a problem.
I couldn't agree more. And joining us from the energy advisory side, we have Rob Schuler. He is an energy advisor here at Pilot Energy. He works with commercial real estate clients, including Shawn, on energy procurement, rate strategy, and portfolio level energy management, and brings a really practical market specific perspective to all of it. Rob, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's great to be here and great to be able to comment along with our longtime colleague and client and friend, Shawn Parker, who does a fabulous job in all of his professional endeavors. And we're pleased that we're able to provide some assistance with commercial real estate. That's one of those sectors where there's generally a lot of opportunity that goes untapped, and I'm looking forward to getting into that a little bit here.
All right, perfect. We've got 3 great questions from our audience today, and we're going to get right into them. The question 1 comes from Michael S., commercial property investor out of Kansas City, Missouri. We own and manage several commercial real estate properties, and energy is one of our largest operating expenses. What are some of the biggest opportunities commercial property owners should be looking at to better manage their long-term energy costs? Michael, I think this is where a lot of property owners are right now. They know energy is a big line item, but they're not sure where to pull the lever first. Shawn, you've been managing commercial and residential properties for decades. Where do you start?
These are good questions. Really, this answer is not just for commercial property owners. It's for anyone who owns property. Number one, you need to understand if you are in a deregulated state. Where you're purchasing your energy forward, buying and working with aggregators can provide significant savings. As it relates to the buildings themselves, you can have an energy audit done, and if you're in certain areas, the government will often come out and do that energy audit for free. Occasionally, there are nonprofits that will do that as well. Usually, the biggest opportunities are going to be found in things such as high efficiency appliances, changing out or securing window and doors, proper insulation in your properties is another way to easily save money and protect the environment as well, which is something a lot of people think about, particularly in certain states where they're more aware of that. The cost return ratio of upgrading your appliances, for example, to high SEER units, SEER, it may not always pay you back, but it's certainly worth looking into, because generally, with the way the energy markets are headed as we see them, you're going to get that recapture.
That's a really practical starting point, Shawn. And I want to pull on the deregulated market piece because I think that's something a lot of property owners don't really fully understand. Rob, can you explain what Shawn means by that and why it matters so much?
Absolutely. And Sean is right to lead with it because it's foundational. In a deregulated energy market, you as the property owner have a choice in who supplies your electricity and sometimes your natural gas. You're not locked into whatever your utility is charging as their default rate. That means you can shop the market, compare suppliers, and lock in pricing that could be significantly more competitive. In Ohio, where Sean operates, we have a deregulated market, and that's a big part of why working with an aggregator or an advisor like Pilot makes such a meaningful difference. We run competitive procurement events across dozens of suppliers to find the best available pricing for a client's specific load and usage profile.
And Shawn, you've been doing this with us for over 8 years across a pretty substantial portfolio. What's been your experience with that procurement side of things?
Jennifer, it's a significant part of how we manage costs across the portfolio. When you have 500 plus properties and dozens of accounts, the difference between being on a default utility rate and having a competitively procured contract adds up fast. It's not something you want to leave to chance.
And the energy audit piece Sean just mentioned is also worth underscoring. A number of property owners skip that step and go straight to a specific upgrade, whether it be solar or HVAC, whatever they've been hearing about. And there's a whole lot of information out there, not all of which is as sound as we'd like it to be. But with an audit, you are assured that you're going to be solving the right problem. It's very easy to fall into the trap of solving the wrong problem, particularly if you're basing it on a limited amount of information. The audit tells you where the actual energy loss is happening in your building, and it helps you to prioritize. Sean's also right that insulation and building envelope improvements, windows, doors, air sealing, are almost always near the top of the list because they affect every system in the building downstream. So I guess I would say to Michael, for anyone starting from scratch, the first steps are understand whether you're in a deregulated market, look to get an energy audit, and then examine your building basics before jumping into bigger investments.
Yeah, definitely. So for Michael, and really for anyone starting from scratch, the first steps are understand whether you're in a deregulated market, get an energy audit, and look at the building basics before jumping into bigger investments.
Exactly. Get that foundation right first. Can I add in here too? I think also you want to have a good energy advisor on your team.
Yes. Question 2 comes from Lisa. She's a property manager out of Atlanta, Georgia. I have a limited budget for building improvements. How do I know which energy related upgrades will provide the best return on investment? There's so many options that it's hard to know where to start. Lisa, I love this question because budget constraints are real. And where do I start is exactly what most people are thinking when they look at the list of potential upgrades. Shawn, you've been watching this space evolve for a long time. What's your take?
Well, one of the really neat things is staying in tune with what's happening in the marketplace. We try to keep an eye on new technologies that are coming out that can get a fast return on investment. There's some new rock wool insulation products, for example, that are vastly superior to current fiberglass. And that's one we're watching very closely. We keep watching solar improve, and the return on investment is actually moving at a rapid pace. We recently did some work with the town of Newcomerstown in eastern Ohio, and the mayor there, fabulous mayor, he told us that they've paid off their solar investment in less than 8 years, and they are now a green energy city. They were early adopters and had thought the ROI would take 15 to 20 years to recapture, but they did it much more quickly. Also, looking at your HVAC system efficiencies and potential zone heating or smart technology thermostats, that's another great way to manage your cost.
Wow. Yeah, that Newcomerstown story is actually really compelling. 8 years versus the 15 to 20 they expected. That's a pretty dramatic shift in what solar economics looks like.
It really is.
That's really a testament to the leadership in Newcomerstown, and they've been doing good things for a while. The fact that they're continuing to bring in expertise such as Shawn is really telling about the value of having a very comprehensive and conscientious local government. And what Shawn is saying about the current marketplace is very true. Whenever you're looking at the kinds of improvements you want to make, particularly on a larger scale, you need to look at a more comprehensive and provide and engage in a more comprehensive assessment that is going to marry up your long-term goals with your immediate term things that you can actually accomplish.
Rob, what about the smart thermostat and controls piece? Is that as accessible as it sounds?
It typically is. It's taken on a much larger role in controlling energy prices now. It used to be that by virtue of the fact that you had a smart thermostat, you were reducing the amount of energy you're using, which is still the case and still very important. But in an environment where capacity rates are much more expensive, which are based upon your highest demand load, being able to reduce that has an outsized impact.
Let me jump in on smart thermostat a little bit if I could. One thing that's really amazing is our ability to remotely monitor properties. And we have folks that really came from the Airbnb world where we can log in to smart thermostats and we can control temperatures remotely. So effectively, we have buildings that are 150 miles away that we can turn the systems down if people accidentally leave them on. And that is a tremendous, powerful tool that we can utilize to make sure that we are not cooling buildings that are unoccupied for, maybe a weekend or maybe for an extended period of time. Tremendous savings opportunity.
Wow. Yeah. So definitely for a property manager with a limited budget, having a smart thermostat like that installed could really help save them some long-term costs.
And the amazing thing is some of these thermostats are available for less than $100.
Thank you for that, Shawn. So, from a property management standpoint, do tenants respond to these kinds of upgrades? And does it affect how you position a property?
Yeah, tenants are looking more and more towards energy as it's become a more significant portion of the cost of either rental or owning a property, and it is in a line item that our clients are giving a lot more attention to what they're spending and how they're spending it.
So, for Lisa, with a limited budget, the smart path is prioritize upgrades with the fastest and most predictable payback, stay current on what's changing in the market, and use data and controls as your starting foundation before committing to bigger capital investments.
Yeah, so the procurement side actually has a very large role in this as well, because it has the ability to affect what you're paying now and affect what you're paying in the long term. And as we see the markets today, the long term is where there's the greater likelihood of increased prices, substantial volatility, and volatility is generally not a benefit to the building owner or to the tenant. and being able to look at your long-term goals, whether it's to be very aggressive and hit the ball through the trees, or take a more measured approach, which is to make sure you hit the ball into the fairway. Either way, we're there to help you match up your priorities and maximize the value of your energy spend.
I want to add here too, don't overlook the procurement side as part of that our ROI conversation. So if you haven't reviewed your energy contracts recently, that's often the fastest and least capital intensive way to reduce costs. No construction, no equipment, just smarter buying. We'll jump into question 3 with David. He is a commercial developer out of Phoenix, Arizona. His question: with electricity demand continuing to grow and building technology changing so quickly, what should commercial property owners be thinking about today to prepare their buildings for the next 5 to 10 years? This is a big picture question, Shawn, and I think it's the one that sits in the back of every property owner's mind. So you've been building and managing through multiple market cycles. How do you think about the next 10 years?
Indeed. I want to give two parts to this answer. The first part speaks directly to the landlord-tenant relationship. Landlords can make a strong case around rent costs by showing that their buildings are efficient, which gives them the ability to ask a higher rent and share in the savings with the tenant. That dynamic allows building values to increase when they are high efficiency because the cap rates improve. So efficiency isn't just an operating cost conversation, it's a valuation conversation.
That's a really important reframe. Efficiency as a rent and valuation strategy, not just cost cutting measure.
And the second part of this is the importance of participating in the political conversations that occur around energy. There are so many generation methods available, and some of them have been dismissed unfairly. Coal is a good example. We have the capability to create electricity with coal technology that is incredibly clean today. Being from the Midwest, we see the majority of our coal being shipped overseas today, where it's still being utilized primarily in countries like China. That coal is a resource that I feel we should be embracing for a clean, cheap energy to meet American demand and keep prices down. Fast tracking nuclear, that's one which has proven itself now over 50 years to be reliable and affordable. It's something else that we really should be engaging with rapidly. I feel that making America energy independent should be a priority, and the fact that we are now an exporting nation means our resource allocations need to improve, both through the business community and the political community as well. And lastly, back to the direct question, having good proactive management programs with your tenants is also important. Asking tenants to be good stewards of energy in the buildings is a win-win. I really like the concept of partnering with our tenants on this, asking them to take on some level of responsibility that allows for better profitability for the property owner, which should translate into lower rents and directly or indirectly more profitability for the tenant and their business.
Yeah, I love that partnership angle. It really reframes the whole conversation from landlord managing costs to both parties having a stake in the outcome. Rob, from an energy management and strategy perspective, how do you see the next 5 to 10 years shaping up for commercial property owners?
Shawn touched on something I think that is really underappreciated, which is the grid supply question. That's what we've been reading a lot about in the newspapers. And as as oftentimes in the case, the media looks at the very large picture, but all of these things come down and impact our clients on their particular basis, and that involves some nuance. There's a big question now about where we're generating electricity and how much is being used. And we've got a lot of places where there's plenty of electricity, but we can't get it to the users. We've got places where we could get it to the users, but we don't have the generation, and every kind of mix in between. And so there is a national priority to look at how we create more power and how we get that power to the client. And that power can be from a number of different sources. Nuclear, which is very sound. We've got a lot of it, and it's continuing to produce at, pretty much all those plants are maxing out right now. And the need to build additional nuclear power is very clear, but it takes time. It takes time for the regulatory process to go through, the permitting process, and a number of the technologies are new and still need to be proven. Natural gas is clearly the workhorse. It is the area where the United States excels. We've got a vast amount of natural gas that will last us for a very long time, probably longer than all of our lifetimes. And it is a lower impact fuel in terms of the pollutants that concern people. And it is something that can be built and deployed much quicker than other fuel supplies. Coal is still a workhorse as well. It is something where cleaner coal is now available. The clean coal generating process is one that is a standard for the world, and the current administration has been encouraging the continued use of coal-fired plants, even some that were in the process of being shut down. Renewables generally add to the supply mix, and they can be placed nearer the location. They do, of course, have the limitation that they only generate when the sun is shining or the wind is blowing, but in many cases, that is of particular value. We look at an all of the above approach, and in some cases, our clients have particularized needs, and we try to match those up specifically. Real value that having a comprehensive generation and transmission approach has is to reduce the volatility that we mentioned earlier. We are unfortunately not in that position now, which means we have extraordinary volatility, and that's why we see price spikes and winter storms and summer heat, etc. And so we look very hard at that, and we are doing our best to make sure our clients, for the near and particularly the long term, are in a position to avoid the impacts of volatility. And that's what we do on a regular basis. When we have a client for which we are managing their procurement, we are on a very consistent basis watching the markets, watching where our clients are to make sure that we're presenting to them any opportunities that we see for them to save money.
Great. So for David, and really for anyone thinking about the long game, build efficiency into your valuation strategy, partner with your tenants on energy stewardship, stay engaged in the broader energy policy and supply conversation, and make sure your procurement and demand strategy is proactive rather than reactive.
That's it. The owners who treat energy as a strategic asset, not just a bill, are going to be in a much stronger position over the next decade.
This was such a great conversation. I feel like we could have really kept going. There's so much to dig into in this space. Shawn, Rob, any final thoughts for our commercial real estate listeners?
Yeah, just that it's never too late to start being more intentional about energy. I've been doing this for a long time, and even after all these years, we're still finding ways to improve how we manage costs across the portfolio. Stay curious, stay connected to what's changing in the market, and don't be afraid to ask for help. That's what the advisors are for.
Yes, pay attention to your energy spend, get together with your energy advisor sooner than later, and make sure that you lay out where you are now, what your goals are, and ask for advice. There may not be anything you can do today, but knowing what you can do tomorrow really does have an impact. And remember that the goal here is to maximize the value of your energy spend by using all of the available tools.
Yes, definitely. Markets are moving, utility rates are changing, and the procurement decisions you make in the next 12 months really matter. So, a fresh set of eyes on your energy spend almost always surfaces something worth acting on. And Rob, as always, great to have the energy expertise in the room. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jennifer. And we never sleep, so call us anytime.
Shawn, your perspective is exactly what this conversation needed. Someone who's been in the trenches of commercial real estate long enough to have real hard won opinions.
Thanks for having me, Jennifer. I really enjoyed it. This was fun.
And a huge thank you to Michael, Lisa, and David for sending in your questions. This episode is better because of them. If you're in commercial real estate or any property intensive industry and you have a question you'd love answered on the show, send it our way. We want to hear from you. And we'll keep this series going with more industry specific conversations and great guests. So until next time, I'm Jennifer Ford. Thanks for listening to Pilot Unplugged. And remember, you can always find us powered online at pilotenergy.com.